श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे हरे राम, राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे राम, राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम, राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम, राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम, राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। निताई गौरांग जय, निताई गौरांग, निताई गौरांग जय, निताई गौरांग, निताई गौरांग जय, निताई गौरांग, निताई गौरांग जय। गौर हरि गौर 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 हरि, जय सचिनंदन गौर हरि, पतित पावन गौर हरि, शचिमाता प्राण धन गौर हरि। गौर 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 हरि नदिया विहारी गौर हरि गौर 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 हरि कलिमल हारी गौर हरि जय पंचतत्व जय पंचतत्व पंचतत्व जय पंचतत्व जय प्रह्लाद नृसिंह जय अनंत देव प्रह्लाद नृसिंह जय अनंत देव जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव सुभद्रा माई जय जय सुदर्शन जय राधा माधव अष्ट सखी गिरि गोवर्धन जय गिरि गोवर्धन जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय गुरुदेव निताई गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताई गौर हरि बोल। ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजक आचार्य अष्टोत्तर सत कृष्ण कृपा मूर्ति अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहें जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपिका श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिराज गोवर्धन जी महाराज की जय। ब्रजभूमि वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय। श्री क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। साकेत अयोध्यापुरी धाम की जय। गंगा मैया की जय। जमुना मैया की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Let us read verse number 36. Arjunuvacha अथ प्रयुक्तोऽयं पापं चरति पुरुषः अनिच्छनापि वार्ष्णेय बलादिव नियोजितः. Translation. Arjun said, O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? Purport. A living entity, as part and parcel of the Supreme, is originally spiritual, pure, and free from all material contaminations. Therefore, by nature, I'm sorry, he is not subject to the sins of the material world. But when he is in contact with the material nature, he acts in many sinful ways without hesitation and sometimes even against his will. As such, Arjun's question to Krishna is very sanguine as to the perverted nature of the living entities. Although the living entity sometimes doesn't want to act in sin, he is still forced to act sinful actions. To act. Sinful actions are not, however, impelled by the supersoul within, but are due to another cause, as the Lord explains in the next verse. We will be reading the very significant verse, verse number 37. Then we'll start discussing. श्रीभगवानुवाच काम एष क्रोध एष रजोगुणसमुद्भव महाश्नो महापापा पाप्मा विद्धेयनमिह वैरिणम्. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "It is lust only, Arjun, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all devouring sinful enemy of this world." When a living entity, purport by Srila Prabhupada, when a living entity comes in contact with the material creation, his eternal love for Krishna is transformed into lust in association with the mode of passion. Or, in other words, the sense of love of God becomes transformed into lust, as milk in contact with sour tamarind is transformed into yogurt. Then again, when lust is unsatisfied, it turns into wrath. Wrath is transformed into illusion, and illusion continues the material existence. Therefore, lust is the greatest enemy of the living entity, and it is lust only which induces the pure living entity to remain entangled in the material world. Wrath is the manifestation of the mode of ignorance. These modes exhibit themselves as wrath and other corollaries. If, therefore, the mode of passion, instead of being degraded into the mode of ignorance, is elevated to the mode of goodness by the prescribed method of living and acting, then one can be saved from the degradation of wrath by spiritual attachment. This inquiry is the beginning of the Vedanta Sutra. Sorry. The Supreme Personality of Godhead expanded himself into many for his ever increasing spiritual bliss. And the living entities are parts and parcels of this spiritual bliss. They also have partial independence, but by the misuse of their independence, when the service attitude is transformed into the propensity for sense enjoyment, they come under the sway of lust. This material creation is created by the Lord to give facility to the conditioned souls to fulfill these lustful propensities, and when completely baffled by prolonged lustful activities, I'm sorry, this material creation is created by the Lord to give facility to the conditioned souls to fulfill these lustful propensities, and when completely baffled by prolonged lustful activities, the living entities begin to inquire about their real position. This inquiry is the beginning of Vedanta Sutras, wherein it is said, Athato Brahma Jignasa, one should inquire into the Supreme, and the Supreme is defined in Srimad Bhagavatam as Janamadi Asya Yato Anvayad Itaratascha, or the origin of everything is the spiritual, is the Supreme Brahman. Therefore, the origin of lust is also in the Supreme. If therefore lust is transformed into the love for the Supreme, or transformed into Krishna consciousness, or in other words, desiring everything for Krishna, then both lust and wrath can be spiritualized. Hanuman, the great servitor of Lord Ram, exhibited his wrath by burning the golden city of Ravan. But by doing so, he became the greatest devotee of the Lord. Here also in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord induces Arjun to engage his wrath upon his enemies. Give me 1 second, please. Sorry. I'm trying to somehow something got clicked because of which my screen has disappeared. Now this is again video is opening, but nothing else.
Should I read the two line only there,
Yeah, you
Prabhu?
can read them,
Ah,
Madhu.
okay. Here also in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord induces Arjun to engage his wrath upon his enemies for the satisfaction of the Lord. Therefore, lust and wrath, when they are employed in Krishna consciousness, become our friends instead of our enemies.
Wonderful. Om Timirandhasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yuta Pada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagan Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagan Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kant Radha Kant Namostute Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vancha Kalpataru Bhayascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So, we will be covering these two verses today. I am very happy because this is going to most certainly deepen our understanding about spiritual subject matter, and also it is going to make many things easy for all of you. Arjun inquires that we do not want to do certain activities, Krishna, but we feel as if we are impelled to do them, forced to do them. That is the inquiry. There are two parts to it. Part one is wherein I will be discussing how all of us relate to it. Part two is where Srila Prabhupada's purport is talking about a lot of important subjects here, beginning from how living entity comes in contact with the material nature, and then modes, and then how, if his attachments are transformed from lust to love, and then he attains Krishna consciousness. So that whole journey we will discuss maybe after 9:15 or so. So let us begin the first section. Majority of us, suppose we steal someone else's money, there is guilt in us. Suppose we beat up someone, there is some kind of guilt in us. Given a choice, I repeat, given a choice, no one wants to harm, which means suppose I'm getting highly bored and for the sake of thrill, I might want to harm myself or I might want to harm others. That's what you call adventure sports. Because my life is so boring, same humdrum existence, routine, the drab, as you say, so that I'm just not interested. I want something, something. And then the effects sometimes can be very lethal. People lose lives in this whole adventure aspect. Whether it is, I'm not saying I'm completely against the idea, but I'm talking about the foolishness. So, whether it is bungee jumping or paragliding or extreme sports, as they say, they are all forms of responding to boredom. Many of our, songs also talk about these things. The famous ghazal which Mehdi Hasan sang, किसी रंजिश को हवा दो कि मैं जिंदा हूं अभी. A living entity by nature is active. And then also many couplets in Urdu which talk about, how boredom propels activity which can be very, very harmful. Whether American kids who have got everything on a platter cannot realize what it means to earn bread of two times. They can't. They think they deserve it. And on top of it, the kind of luxurious shelter they have air conditioning as a given, and supermarkets, and booze, and what have you. And very soon, they get bored of it. They need a new high. That's why they take shelter of deeper drugs. Or they come out and randomly start shooting people, or they get swayed by various groups who are into radicalizing the impressionable youth. If you go and trace the origin of it, whether the Kashmiri young people who are in touch with our neighboring countries, you will see that it was unemployment at one level, but it was worthlessness at another level. And then sentences like, please excuse my throat, कुछ करने को नहीं था तो क्या करते, इसलिए कर लिया. People have no idea. Coming back to our main discussion, we are impelled to do, and we don't want to do. The whole thing, which somehow now is under control, is how our kids were playing those crazy games where they were found jumping from the rooftops. They were asked to perform crazy tasks, you know, and doing all sort of stupid stuff. But I'm just trying to bring your attention to only one thing: active, negatively active or positively active, but active. And when Krishna says Kama Esha, Krodha Esha, Rajogun Samudbhava, this is lust only, born out of living entities' contact with material mode of passion. So, Arjun, though you feel you don't want to do it, now the class begins. The class begins in the sense the context is over. Now you'll have to try and catch, and if Krishna so desires, then he'll bless us. So, if the living entity doesn't want to do, even then he feels forced to do. One night stands, getting into illicit sex, or the one and the same thing, and getting into various types of scams, multiple things. You take vow in front of the whole family, and then you still are attracted towards booze and parties and all of those things. And you have guilt. You have guilt. Why did I do it? You also want to improve. Welcome to the world of addiction. And in multiple layers, we are all addicted. When I use the word layers, in multiple degrees. On certain things, Our degree is, and how do we define the degree? Whether I get caught or not. That's one way of looking at it, but that's an incorrect way. The correct way to recognize your addiction is when I don't do it, what happens? And humanity, I'm not talking about one family, one nation, humanity has gotten addicted to mindless scrolling. We are all. I was traveling a few days back, and in the train, I looked at the whole bogie, and every neck was down, looking into the screens. By the way, when they looked into the screen, they were looking at people, which means inside the screen is also people, but right in front of you are also people. The culture of book is also missing. They are not engaging into serious readings, deep reading, contemplation, opening of the horizons, nothing. There's a humanities addiction. So then who is hero in the true sense of the word? I'm telling you today, if you, me, we want to be ahead of others, the definition being when you exercise control and gain mental health at least, then restrict not your phone usage, but your reels scrolling to 45 minutes a day, because it's currently going into 4 hours, 3.5 hours, 5 hours. From waking up till the time we sleep. Similarly, all day don't keep sending messages. It's an OCD. It's an obsessive compulsive disorder. Every now and then we are checking phones. The hand is now on in an auto mode. It just searches for the phone when we wake up. You wake up with alarm. Don't check your messages till 8:30. I'm not talking about phone usage. I'm talking about the urge. If you check your emails twice a day, it is sufficient. If you check your WhatsApp messages just 3 times a day, and tell people we are the same set of people who lived in the era of, inland late letters. We used to wait for 5 to 6 days, sometimes 10 days, before a message could reach us. It has gotten reduced to 5 seconds. That doesn't mean that every second we do it. This is the word impelled. The hand is searching for the phone under multiple pretexts. But who is hero? Hero is one who can set his limit depending on the type of job he is in. You don't have a laptop, for example, and you are a student. Then, yes, you go to that application or watch that YouTube video, because there is no scrolling in that. You are learning there. So it is harmful for the eyes, but it is not harmful for the brain. When you are obsessed with checking your messages, then you will go to the groups, because most of the reels come there. And then that reel will take you to one, either Insta or Facebook or YouTube. And then, God bless you, impelled. This is just an example. And then after 3 hours, 4 hours, full day, and then a strong surge of, what am I doing? Why can't I just stop it? And then comes a very weak determination. That's it, today, last day, which never came. Arjun is talking about this only. I don't want to do it, but as if impelled to do it, forced to do it. This is, we are at the first 36 number verse only right now. I wanted you all to understand this term called impelled. And this is the most relevant example in today's day and age. You may not connect with why kids are going and shooting people. Why are they impelled to do so? You may not connect with why, you know, a whole generation can get into drugs. It's difficult to relate to that, but it's very easy to relate with what I just talked about. You can book your cab, you can order your meal. All of that is the functional utility of the instrument. But you don't have to check. You give yourself 6 hours, that's it. If I have checked at 8 o'clock, now I will check at 2 o'clock, and then 8 p.m. in the evening. That's it. Next day again. Else, if there is an emergency, let the other person call. But 3 times, and when I say 3 times, it doesn't mean that 3 times you have the permission to again scroll. No. You check your individual messages first. Then, not more than 15 minutes or half an hour. Half an hour is too much actually. Just 10, 15 minutes. If you have to respond, that's a different thing. Otherwise, just skim through. Okay, this update, this update, this update, fine. Move. You won't get left behind. That's an illusion. If I don't check, I'm not updated. If I'm not updated, I'm out of the race. Which race? Which race? Dear devotees, I'm telling you the truth that today, if you reach hospital and if you don't have money, that's it. All your race and this and that, your friends will run away. And you will be alone fighting it out. Better stay so sheltered that even if anything happens, Krishna and Krishna's devotees will protect me. They have the power. And if they have the power, then why am I wasting time in mobile? You, even if you want to be updated, 45 minutes is too much. At least get down to that level so that the de-addiction process initiates itself. Since Shyamavallabha Mataji is humble by nature and she, shares herself a lot of times, so I'm sharing. Mataji says, I'm addicted to the news websites, the Times of India. And I'm just saying, you have to ask yourself, what do I need to know? Okay, fine, I need to know how's my country going, how's the world going. All right. Then you take 10 minutes out, 15 minutes out in 24 hours and be done with it. Why do you have to check every 6 hours? So that's the impel aspect that is to be taken care of. Now, what is Krishna's solution, or not the solution, but diagnosis of it? Arjun highlighted a disease. The diagnosis done by the Lord is Kama Esha Krodha Esha. So today we will now understand the term lust in a much broader sense. What is lust? In the most narrow sense, I'm using the word most narrow sense, it is about sexual attempts, so to say, done by a male or a female. But that's most narrow. Lust can be loosely translated as desire. Desire of any nature. Desire for prestige is also lust. Desire for comfort is also lust. Desire for emotional attachment is also lust. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu defined lust. And you can go to any big conference of the most intelligent people on this planet, and you can give this definition, and nobody will ever have a better definition than this. So Lord Chaitanya says, Swendriya Priti Kahaye Kam, Krishnendriya Priti Dharaye Prem Nam. It means when you want to satisfy your senses, Swa Indriya Swendriya Priti, when you are attached to satisfaction of your senses, tongue, nostrils, ears, eyes, genitals, hands, as in skin, all of that. Swendriya Priti Kahaye Kam. Then that is lust. Lust to eat, lust to hear good music, lust to watch greenery or scenery or whatever. And then this lust keeps on. And Swendriya Indri doesn't mean only these five knowledge gathering senses or only the other five action oriented senses. No, they also mean subtle senses, which means mind, intelligence, and false ego. So all 13 of them, you might be wondering, why am I saying 13 of them? Action oriented senses? No, they also get addicted. Yes. So your stomach, if you make your stomach take food at certain time, even if your mind doesn't want it, next day on the same time, the saliva will get generated. The juices in the digestive system will start flowing, because even the body organs are so much, you know, uh, dependent on habit formation. They all demand. If you have a certain time to get up, automatically you will get up. Certain time to sleep, automatically you won't get sleep before that. You have to try then. Auto mode is, our second nature, so to say. The dull senses, karmendriya, also binds. And that's why Krishna told us in chapter 2, these senses are the resting places of lust, or residences of lust. Lust resides here. Lust for prestige, lust for intelligence, lust for thinking, feeling, willing. That's why the Supreme Person himself says, Mahapapma.
Prabhuji, can you elaborate on 13
Oh,
senses?
yes, sure, sure. Five action oriented senses, Mataji. So, hands are there, legs are there, genital is there, anus is there, uh, and stomach is there. So, like that, these are there. And you can just look at Google and see. I'm very sure of the four. The fifth one is either speech or stomach, or one of them. But these are action. The action is performed by these organs.
Speech, I think, Prabhuji. Speech.
Yeah. And the other five are the knowledge gathering senses. So they are eye, nose, ear, skin, and tongue. And then the three are mind, intelligence, and false ego. After that, there is another division, but I'm not going into that. The object of these senses, so taste and tongue, sound and ear, sight and eye, like that. They are the objects of the senses. So that's how they become 18. And then they add the five Mahatatvas, Mahatatattvas, which are the earth, fire, ether, water. So, which one did I miss? Earth, fire, water, air, and ether. Yeah. So those five Panchabhuta. So then 18 plus 5 becomes 23. And after that 23, then sometimes some philosophers include soul. That makes it 24. And then some philosophers include super soul. So then they say the whole thing is made up of 25 different elements. So Karmendriya, Gyanendriya, objects, and then mind, intelligence, false ego, and then Panch Mahabhut, and the soul and the super soul. Then the further classification goes on as the three modes as well. Then some say it is 28 elements, some say 25, some will say 24, some will club it and say 20 or 18, like that. So, but for us, what is to be understood is lust is the, in its broadest sense, is Swendriya Priti. Any sense I have, then, and I have attachment for that, then that's it. This will be called lust. And Krishna says, Mahapapma. This is very sinful, highly sinful. And Vidhayam, know it to be what? Varinam. And it devours, means like a fire devours everything that comes its way. Similarly, devours. हिंदी में कहे तो सब कुछ खा जाती है ये. And therefore the word kam, lust, and then Krishna talks about sakam karma, nishkam karma. So nishkam karma means where you do not satisfy your senses. Then the karma becomes nishkam. When the desires are not satisfied, then we feel upset. That's where 2.61 and 62, if you remember, dhyayato vishayan pumsah sangasteshu upajayate, that verse. If you meditate upon the objects of the senses, attachment grows into that. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. Because of that association with the object of the senses. If there are for 5 days you are sitting in a room and observing 4 people eating ice cream 3 times a day, very high chance fifth day you will also eat it. Because there is association. Sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodha vijayate. Unfulfilled lust gives birth to anger. कैसे नहीं होगा, होना ही होगा. And this chain, क्रोधात भवति सम्मोहन, सम्मोहात् स्मृति विभ्रम, स्मृति भ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशो, बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति. So when the anger arises, then the illusion follows. What does that mean? We all can think logically and sequentially. A, then B, then step C, then step D. But when you are in a haste, when you are upset, then that order becomes confusing. Then you sometimes want to jump on C or D and then come back to B, and then you recall that, oh, I think I'm going to miss out on M. All such crazy things. Illusion. Sammohan, which means you do not understand things as they are. That is what sammohan. You mistake them for something else. That's why in colloquial language they say mohit ho gaya. Arjun mohit ho gaya. What does that mean? Arjun ideally should have understood himself as soul, but he slipped from that platform and started thinking about his temporary identity as permanent identity. Sammohan. So what is Arjun's lust? Arjun's lust is he wants to save lives of his near and dear ones. That's why he doesn't want to fight. Then, why is he upset? He is upset because he is being challenged and he has Kshatriya blood. So, though he doesn't want to fight, but he is forced to fight, that's why he's upset. Now, what will happen? Since he doesn't want to do it and he's being forced to do it, he is becoming bewildered. And then he is giving all kind of logics to the Supreme Person himself, why he shouldn't fight. That's the stage of Sammohan. He is mohit. We, in a very narrow sense, understand the term moh. We think लड़का लड़की पे मोहित हो गया, देखता ही रह गया, अपने आप को भूल गया. Come and understand it in a broader sense. Your permanent identity has gotten relegated. It has gone on the back burner. You don't have the remembrance of it. And your temporary identity, you are mistaking it as permanent. Now you are bewildered. Now you are mohit. Karpanya dosho aprahata swabhava. Due to miserliness, which means I want to enjoy. I don't want to be away from it. So this way, we must understand lust. Sitting place, residence of this lust is senses. If you refrain the senses from the objects of the senses by engaging the senses into the service of the Lord, then gradually the addiction begins. And then Shipram Bhavati Dharamatma. Very soon you become well conducted, or you conduct yourself nicely. Dharmatma. You follow the path of religion. What is dharma? Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. The will of the Lord is the dharma. What Krishna wants, we do. That's dharma. Krishna wants varnashram, so we follow varnashram. For us, that's dharma. This is to be understood like this. Coming back to Krodhat, and then Sammohan, Sammohat Smriti Vibhrama. Then the wire in the memory circuit, they get connected in a wrong manner. Smriti Vibhrama, very, very bad shape. Your memory, when it detaches from the main thing, then the trickle down effect is a lot of connections become haywire. You start connecting completely unrelated things. You may say BJP had a candidate, AAP had a candidate, BJP candidate was corrupt, AAP candidate won the election, and you will start taking a correlation that those who are not corrupt, they won the election. There was no such thing. But you drew that inference out of those. There was no causality. You established a false causality there. Memory circuit. Smriti Branchat Buddhinasha. Then the intelligence gets finished. Buddhinashat Pranashyati. When the intelligence is finished, a person falls down. What do you mean by fall down? At least you had a faint idea earlier. Now your consciousness will dip further. Now it will go into animal consciousness. And then further down and down and down and down. That's why Krishna is saying it devours everything that comes its way. Such a power lust holds that Lord Brahma went mad after his own daughter. And this is a way for Krishna to tell us this, what's the whole game. Mahapapma. Lord Shiva got angry. Lakshmi left Narayan when Bhrigu Rishi kicked Narayan. Four Kumars got upset when their desire to meet the Lord was obstructed. Spell of anger, under the spell of anger, as they say. What this is the last section of the class. What I'm trying to convey is this: when Supreme Person himself says it is Mahapapma, highly sinful, then what should be done? This is the constructive part of it. Everything was constructive, but sometimes when diagnosis happens, when surgery happens, people feel afraid. But when the surgery is done and they recover, they realize the value of it. So now the diagnosis part is done. Dear devotees, all of us must have faith in the process. By intellectual efforts, by attending de addiction workshops, you can get to certain degree, very minuscule, some success you may get. However, if you have to de-addict the whole system, I'm talking about your own internal system, that my system should be changed in such a way that whichever thing comes, there should be an alarm in me. This is going in the direction of addiction. This is to be removed. Then, for such permanent thing, you have to take shelter of the holy names. I'll tell you a magic. So many people try so many things in this material world so that they can get rid of it. Some of you must have seen the famous movie Vastav. I think that's the name. Sanjay Dutt was there with Reema Lagu as his mother. And from a vada pav seller, due to some circumstances, he ends up becoming a gunda, gets addicted. Towards the end, when police is chasing him and he's not getting drugs, he requests his mother. He says, if there is nothing else, just give me some ghaslet. And then he can't, such such withdrawal symptoms occurred. He requested his own mother to kill him. He said, Shanti Dede. These are all dramatic stuff, but it indicates the effect of de-addiction. Oh, sorry, addiction. People say cigarette is bad, liquor is bad. The truth of the matter is overeating is much worse. But because it's not a taboo, all of us are doing it. Not drinking water sufficiently or not staying hydrated is also being sinful towards the self. Not taking sufficient sleep. Inability to do all these things are also because we are addicted to life. We want to enjoy so much that the four pillars of health: hydration, diet, exercise, and sleep. And I'm a part of it. I'm not saying because I'm explaining it doesn't mean I'm above it. We love laziness so much. We love our tongue so much. We don't want to get left behind. So we sleep less, watch more. We don't want to move body parts, let them be the way they are. This is also lust only. Lust for life or lust for enjoyment. Perpetual enjoyment. When there is marriage, you see people, they sleep less, they drink more, they talk a lot, they eat a lot, forget about exercise, forget about hydration. So these are, you know, They are not social taboos, that's all. But they are much more harmful. And all of us have gone far ahead now. Initially, there used to be some concern, some worry, some guilt. Now we have given up. Now we are waiting for the calamity, and the calamity will not come the way we are thinking. Someday now, whatever is there, I can't help it. Now I'm a slave to this habit. We have come way ahead negatively. So now we are saying, I give up, I surrender. This habit is more powerful than my willpower, than my determination. That's exactly the diagnosis Krishna is giving. Kama Esha. This is the answer now. Why our intelligence, fully knowing the harmful consequences, why can't it still control? Very, very pertinent thing. I think the most pertinent, and I'll be ending the class after that. This part you must understand. Your current intelligence may be sharp, it may spot the problem. You have a torch in your hand by which you can identify what went wrong where. But, dear devotees, very, very significant statement now coming. If you have accepted the offers of Maya, the proposals of Maya, on and on, day after day, day after day, day after day, no matter what your intelligence says, it will pop out. It will pop out. Suppose there are two ways to measure it. One is called intensity, another is called frequency. So you drink less, but you drink daily. This is high frequency, less intensity. But one day you try not drinking, then after 3 years, you will get withdrawal symptoms. At that time, your intelligence will say, but we know it is bad for the liver, it should not be done, so let's not do it. No, where is it? Where is it? Intelligence is powerless before habit. Most significant statement of the whole session. Intelligence is powerless before habit. And therefore, good habits are called samskara. When you have good habits on an auto mode, your mind becomes the best friend. If your mind wants to do it, intelligence is supporting it, there is no cause of unhappiness. So all we have to do is leave one habit and take up another habit. Rewiring. But this time, this rewiring can take us out of this cycle of birth and death. This time we are going to pick up habits which are eternal or which are conducive for eternal life. If you are very studious, very hardworking, this is conducive for material life. So if you have high frequency and high intensity, dear devotees, then no matter how sharp your intelligence is, that's why brilliant people, majority of creative people are drug dependent or they have some mental perversion. And they're great people. Michael Jackson, child abuse. Because, and he told once Deepak Chopra, he said, Deepak, I can't even explain how lonely I feel. You will be suffering alone when the results of these sinful activities come. That's why Krishna is cautioning. Michael Jackson could practice for hours and hours for singing and dancing. But he couldn't control that urge because it was coming very strong. Intensity is high, frequency is high. Therefore, rag, dvesh, vyavasthitav. The Vedic culture has system of regulating, not ending abruptly, regulating so that it doesn't go beyond the limit. As I come to know more and more about Sanatan culture, Vedic systems, I find it so comprehensive and intelligent. My goodness, the transformation of the soul of the living entity is being facilitated by this whole system, whether it is samskar, whether it is varnashram or devotional practices. The transformation takes place with that. So amazing verses. Take home message is this only, that intelligence is powerless in front of old habits. And if you take shelter of the holy names, if you take shelter of devotees, if you take shelter of dham, if you take shelter of prasad, if you take shelter of shastra, these 5 things, and continuously, like you build up a bad habit, now you build up a good habit. You are, paying the price for bad habits, then you will be reaping the benefits of good habits. So start developing good habits rather than feeling helpless, feeling guilty, and all of that. Gradually, the bad habits will go away. Maybe in a decade, or 2 decades, or 4 decades, they'll go away. Holy names are extremely not most powerful, actually. All right. So next week, we'll take another set of 2 or 4 verses and continue. Thank you so much. I can't take questions because it's already 9:34. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय, श्री कृष्ण चंद्र भगवान की जय, अर्जुन की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, श्री गुरु महाराज की जय. All glories to all of you. See you all next Saturday. Hare Krishna. Dhanvatana.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for this wonderful class.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Dandot Pranam, Prabhuji, Pranams. Thank you so much.